Well, open borders advocates are refusing to acknowledge rising evidence of plans for a NAFTA superhighway. Many in the mainstream media absolutely will refuse to acknowledge the reality. The plans could be a major step toward that North American union of the United States, Canada, and Mexico. President Bush says opponents of a NAFTA superhighway, in his view, are laying out a conspiracy. Senator Obama says he sees no evidence of a North American union. Even some news organizations are criticizing me for raising the issue. Time magazine journalist Joe Klein accused me of, quote, spewing false inflammatory nonsense. So we asked Bill Tucker to report on the issue. He found there's plenty of evidence of plans for new transportation links between Mexico and Canada, and only, in my opinion, a fool would refuse to see those links.
There is no NAFTA superhighway, not officially. Some even call it the invention of the far right wing. But some politicians find the denials almost laughable.
The folks in Washington are in denial about the Super NAFTA highway, or whatever you want to call it. It's the concept that there will be a highway, free trade, from Mexico through the central part of the United States all the way to Canada.
In Texas, planning and development is underway for what are officially called transportation corridors. The Trans-Texas Corridor, I-69, a combination of rail lines, utility lines, car and truck lanes, planned to be as wide as 3 football fields laid end to end. It will be financed by a private foreign company, most likely Spain's Centra, who will then own the lease on the road and the revenue generated by the tolls. Texas may use eminent domain to lay claim to some of the land needed to build it. For an imaginary road, there is a lot of money and effort involved and some very real opposition.
We don't want this corridor!
There's just no doubt that this is happening. We've been to the public hearings. We've seen the presentations. We've seen the documents. We've waded through them. And there's a whole lot more groups besides just ours. I mean, we've got Farm Bureau, Sierra Club, a whole host of groups from the left and the right.
In Kansas, a resolution opposing the superhighway overwhelmingly passed the State House.
The documentation is there, and some of it's been obtained through the Freedom of Information Act. So I think that when you read this, it is very hard to believe.
The lawmakers concerned about the impact of increased traffic flowing into Kansas City, where an intermodal center known as the Kansas City Smartport is being developed to capitalize on the flow of goods from Mexico's port of Lázaro Cárdenas to the nation's heartland. The Smartport website says it offers, quote, the heart of a rail corridor spanning coast to coast across the U.S. and extending from Canada to Mexico, a NAFTA railway. And what drives it all? Imports. The U.S. Business and Industry Council, a business group, says in the past 10 years, imports from and passing through Mexico rose by 326%, reaching almost $211 billion last year. And according to the Texas Department of Transportation, 3/4 of all the traffic from Mexico to the United States comes across the Texas border. And all that traffic, they say, needs to be accommodated somehow. And Lou, it's hard for an imaginary road to accommodate that much real traffic.
It's what happens when you have, let's say, so-called mainstream journalists in what I would call Napoleonic denial. They're laughable. They are so arrogant in their ignorance of these issues, and yet the little dilettantes step into it as if they know something. They think it's like their political reporting, that they can simply bring an impressionistic brush across the sweep and that will pass for facts. Good job. We'll keep reporting on the NAFTA superhighway so the little darlings can finally figure out what in the heck is going on in this country, should they want to. It's inconvenient to the orthodoxy and the establishment press, of course, as it is the establishment political parties who would love to see this accommodation take place, irrespective of the discomfort, the dislocation that it would cause American citizens and property owners. Thanks, Bill Tucker. Well, Congressman Ron Paul is the only presidential candidate who's come out against the NAFTA superhighway. In point of fact, he's the only candidate who even acknowledges it exists.